Integration by parts is a very simple rearrangement of the product rule, and it really comes from taking and algebraically remanipulating the product rule while considering the fundamental theorem of calculus. And it's quite straightforward, right? If I were to take the integral of the product rule, right, and I consider the fundamental theorem of calculus, we can rewrite the left-hand side of the equation as just uv as so, right? And then I can rearrange the equation to be in terms of the integral of u dv, writing it as right? All I did was leave this on one side and subtract this integral to the other side, and now we have the integration by parts rule. It's very simple, very straightforward. Let's do a quick example. So the example that we're going to do is just going to be the integral of x times cosine x. And we're going to consult our rule right here. We're going to make our u, and I'll explain why I'm doing this. I'm going to do this in two different colors. I'm going to make my u be equal to x, and I'm going to make my v prime, right? This is just a Newtonian way to write the derivative of v. I'm going to make my derivative of v, or my v prime cosine x. Now I chose to make my u be equal to x because the derivative of u, which we see shows up right here, the derivative of u is just equal to 1. And it's best to try and choose the simplest u, and you'll understand why when we solve the integration by parts method, why you make the simplest u possible. And then I'm going to make my v, right, be equal to sine x. My v is sine x because the derivative of v is cosine x, and the integral of a derivative, right, the integral of a derivative is just the original function. So assuming our function was v, the derivative of sine x is cosine x, the integral of cosine x is sine x, right? Does that make sense? So let's rewrite our equation in terms of our u's and our v's, right? So we have our u, which is just going to be x, times our v prime, which is going to be cosine x, is equal to our u, which is x, times our v, which we said was sine of x, minus the integral of u prime, which we said was 1, times v, which we said was sine x. This is a very simple equation to solve, right? We're almost done with our integral. The first part is just going to be x sine of x, very straightforward, right? Minus the integral of sine of x, because 1 times sine of x is just sine of x. And we know that the integral of sine, right, is negative cosine. Negative cosine x. And if you don't remember those rules, just as a refresher, right, sine of x's derivative is cosine of x, cosine of x's derivative is negative sine of x, the derivative of negative sine of x is negative cosine of x, and the derivative of negative cosine of x is sine of x, which means that the integral of sine of x is negative cosine x. So we're going to get x sine x, that's our first part right there, minus the integral of 1 sine of x, which is negative cosine x. So our final integral is just going to be x sine of x plus cosine of x. And that's it, right? We finished the problem. This is our final integral right here.